This is the Chamber Chat Podcast, the show dedicated to chamber professionals to spark ideas and to get actionable tips and strategies to better serve your members and community. Hello, Chamber Champions. Welcome to Chamber Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Burton, and it's my goal here on the podcast to introduce you to people and ideas to better help you serve your chamber members and your community. Our title sponsor for this episode is Bringing Local Back. Remember when your community could turn to a local TV station or newspaper for the latest updates and affordable ads? Those days may be fading, but the need for local connection remains. That's why we created Bringing Local Back, a game-changing platform that restores local visibility and advertising power to your community. It's more than just tech. It's about driving engagement and creating new revenue for your chamber. Ready to see the future? Visit bringinglocalback.com to schedule your demo today. This is the future of local commerce. You're joining us for a special episode in our 2025 ACCE Chamber of the Year Finalist Series. And for today's episode, we're thrilled to welcome Tamara Fleischhaker. Tamara is a powerhouse in public policy, community development, and business advocacy. She currently serves as the interim president and CEO, as well as the chief experience officer of the Ocala Metro Chamber and Economic Partnership, or the CEP. With nearly 2 decades of leadership at the CEP, Tamara has played a pivotal role in merging organizations, launching innovative programs like business incubators and award-winning communication strategies, and steering grassroots political victories that have shaped the region's future. Tamara's roots in business run deep, from helping out in her family's screen printing company in high school to working in corporate marketing at Fortune 100 company to becoming one of Florida's most respected chamber professionals. She is a certified chamber executive, a Florida Certified Chamber Professional, and an IOM program graduate. Recognized as the 2016 Professional of the Year by the Florida Association of Chamber Professionals, Tamara recently chaired that same board in 2022 to 2023. Outside of work, Tamara is a passionate community advocate serving on multiple nonprofit boards. She's also a diehard hockey fan who splits her loyalty between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs, and she loves exploring every corner of Florida. But Tamara, I'm excited to have you on the podcast today. First, congratulations to you and your team for being selected as Chamber of the Year finalists. That's quite an accomplishment. But
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to give you a chance to say hello to all the listeners out there, but also to share something interesting about yourself so we can all get to know you a little better.
All right. Well, wonderful. So thank you so much for this opportunity. We have such a tremendous team here. So I'm really grateful that all of their work to get us to this finalist position. It's truly an honor. So you've already talked about my hockey background. You know, I love water, whether it's the ocean or frozen ponds, if you will. And probably another interesting fact is I also love hot air ballooning. I had the opportunity to get involved in that when I was a teenager, and because I've been in a festival life, kind of a festival volunteer for most of my life, and had the opportunity to crew for hot air balloons and also, you know, go up in a few. And that has always been a lot of fun. It's something I don't get much time to do now in the current role that I have, but it's still a passion for me.
That is really cool. I've never been up in a hot air balloon. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could do it. I don't know. I've seen videos of people that go up and they do skydiving from them.
No, thank you. I don't need to.
I can't do that for sure. I'm out.
I don't need to do that myself.
Yeah, very cool. Well, tell us a little bit about the CEP to kind of set the stage for our conversation. Let us know the size of the organization, staff, scope of work you guys are involved with, budget, just to kind of prepare us for the topics we cover.
Sure. So our organization was formed about 13 years ago through a merger of both the Chamber of Commerce and the Economic Development Corporation in the Ocala Metro. And I've been with the organization through that merger. So it's really been an exciting 12 years for us. When it was first formed, we were all coming out of a pretty tough historic downturn of the economy, and we certainly had our issues in our community. So the organization was really really formed with the goal in mind to be exactly what this community needed. I know people have merged and unmerged organizations over time. And, they always say, well, what did you do? And I said, you know what the key to this is? Find out what your community needs. And that is what we did. And we've certainly seen the success with doing that. Florida has seen tremendous growth. We ourselves were listed this year as the fastest growing metro in the country with a 4% growth rate year over year, which was a little bit of that explains why it feels like this in our community, which is, of course, why we've also been focused on infrastructure. We'll get to that in a little bit. But so this organization has really focused on how do we grow jobs from the ground up. So entrepreneurship, we run 2 incubator facilities within our team. We also, of course, work on business retention and expansion and business attraction in the traditional lanes of economic development. But outside of that, we are a full service chamber functioning organization as well. And so we have, all of our full team that you would expect as a part of that. We do all of the networking events and educational events. Run an adult and a youth leadership program through the organization. So we have all of what you would traditionally expect within both sides of organizations. We just get to do it all with a really integrated team. We have about 30 staff members that host all of that because additionally, we have a foundation within our structure. We have a CDFI that we are working on within that organization. We also run a market space, which during COVID is something that really became a piece for us, that we have a facility that it's undercover, but yet outdoors. And we run a Saturday market out of there and we rent it out to the community for different events and, festival pieces that they might do as well. So it gives us another stream of income there, but it also adds a little bit more staff to the team. So again, that's our size of staff. We have about 1,300 partners. We call our members partners because they're partners in the work that we do to support the business community. So that is how we look at our organization. So right around 1,300 partners. I'm not sure if there's something I missed in there, but I'm sure that if there's another key point, you'll let me know.
Yeah, no, I think you did a great job covering kind of that scope that you guys are involved with. Mm-hmm. I guess one of the aspects, budget-wise, what do you guys look at budget-wise?
Yeah, so for budget, we run about 4.4 million across our 6 entities.
Okay. And I think that's important just for those listening to be able to try to scale, the different programs.
Exactly. Yeah, because they're also wondering, how do you have 30 staff members? Well,
exactly.
That's also why.
That's part of it, right?
Absolutely.
So, and from what I remember before, and having Kevin Sheely on the podcast a couple of times, you guys are heavy in the equine industry as well.
We are. So, we are blessed to be the horse capital of the world. And that is, I know a lot of people ask the question, well, what about some other particular areas across the country? And we absolutely agree that Lexington is the thoroughbred capital. Ours is because we represent 73 different breeds, and we have 1 horse to every 4 people in our community. So we have more horses than any other place in the country. And that is part of the USDA's registration of information. So yep, our groups here have trademarked that name, and we love that. I still believe we are the only chamber. I know we're the only chamber in the country right now that has an equine initiative, which we absolutely love because that is a huge part of our tourism trade here. And we absolutely enjoy having that be a part of our organization. And yes, so that is under what we call our traditional chamber side operations. But there is also economic opportunity in that as well, because we have a lot of companies that have created equine products in the community to meet the needs of what that horse community looks like.
Yeah, I think that's a great example of going back to what you had said about creating the organization to what your community needs.
Right.
And you guys leaned heavy into that. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, on these Chamber of the Year finalist episodes, I like to spend most of our time really diving into the 2 program synopses that were submitted on your Chamber of the Year application. So we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive in deep on both of those and learn more about what you guys submitted.
Hi, I'm Joe.
And I'm Rose.
And we're the founders of At My Community, a mobile app that can be customized to meet the unique needs of your Chamber of Commerce.
When we started At My Community, we envisioned a tool that would help communities thrive by simplifying communication and enhancing engagement. Chambers of Commerce face unique challenges, and we're here to help you tackle them.
At My Community helps the Evergreen Area Chamber of Commerce to create an app that keeps tourists informed even when their office is closed. They provide 24/7 access to local business information, which helps support the local economy and community engagement.
In Rocky Mountain House, we helped Rocky Chamber create an app with dynamic itineraries and digital resources for tourists, increasing local business engagement. The app has become an essential tool for the community, promoting events and boosting visibility for local merchants.
Today, we empower more than 200 chambers of commerce, campgrounds, and RV resorts to streamline communication, informing members about events, sharing business updates, and providing a digital hub for the community, all in one convenient app.
When you partner with At My Community, our team works closely with you to create an app that meets your chamber's unique needs. As your community grows, our app evolves with you. We are here to ensure you engage effectively with your members and streamline your operations.
Schedule a demo today at atmycommunity.com.
We can't wait to meet you.
Are you ready to take your organization's funding to the next level? Hi, I'm Clint Neesmith, CEO of Resource Development Group. As a Chamber of Commerce or Economic Development Organization leader, I know you understand the value of working with experts who understand your world. And that's exactly what RDG does best. For over 30 years, RDG has specialized in fundraising for EDOs and chambers. We bring cutting-edge strategies tailored to your organization, whether you're just starting out or gearing up for yet another new funding cycle. Importantly, our firm executives are hands-on from start to finish, from the feasibility study to the successful conclusion of your fundraising campaign, and our team brings deep industry roots and national expertise to every engagement. No matter the size of your community, RDG delivers data-driven, innovative revenue solutions, reinforcing ROI to investors and making sure your vision becomes reality. At RDG, we proudly build organizations that build communities. Visit us today at rdgfundraising.com and let us partner with you, building a stronger future for your organization and the community you are working to grow and develop.
All right, Tamara, we're back. So as I mentioned before the break, we'll dive into the two program synopses that were submitted on your Chamber of the Year application. I know one of them has to do with the sales tax referendum, if I could speak right. Why don't you tell us what that's about, the history of that, and how it came to be, at the front of mind right now for you guys to approach?
Sure, absolutely. So for us, this was actually our third referendum that we ran on a sales surtax for infrastructure and first responders. We started back in 2015, again, recognizing that our community was growing so rapidly that even if we looked at impact fees and our traditional methodologies of, you're getting your property tax, we wanted to maintain a balance in all of that, because as a growing community to meet the needs. So we recognize that the best thing we could do is run a sales tax, because then it's not just our community that pays for it. It's all those visitors that come to us. So we started that first process, ran it for 4 years, and it was successful. We won. Then what we found out is that there continued to be some pressure from the legislature about how taxes were run. They were setting some standards about when in the year cycle you could do it and for how many years you might be able to. So we did another 4-year and was very successful. That led us to looking at this tremendous growth that we've already spoken of, how fast we were growing. We want to be able to keep up with that infrastructure and make sure that the services that our community enjoys are still able to be found in the community as you're moving here, or for someone who's been here their whole life. The other piece of that is our schools are struggling because often what they find is they get some unfunded mandates that come along to them, and you have that tremendous growth. They've got more students and they're outpacing the facilities that we've had. So we also realized that we had kind of a dual need for what was going to happen in the next 10 to 15 years. So we thought, when you buy a house, you don't plan for just 4 years of how much you're going to pay for a mortgage. You're planning 20 years, right? 20 years or more. So we said, let's think about this in terms of how roads are being built in the community, how The transportation plans are being written, and we decided to tackle it for a 20-year penny sales tax for transportation infrastructure. And then we decided to add a half penny for 10 years dedicated to school facilities. So that might mean upgrading existing facilities and or building new schools, which is all happening as a part of that plan. One of the things that has made this so successful for us is when we first went to the community with it, we were very transparent with it. The city and county joined in on this process, and every dollar that they're spent, they create a budget for it in advance. It goes through the city's budget process every year. It goes through the counties, and every time they spend money, they show the money. So the county has a dedicated website, and each of them has it in their budget, what they're spending from those committed pennies that they're getting and how they're using it, whether it's 10 fire trucks and, new radios for something, or whether it is improvements to our jail facility. And we built, 17 miles of roadway or resurfaced 12 miles. It literally gets put down to every penny that they spend and how they're doing that. And then each year in the budget cycle, they can, re-look at events that are going on in the community, or they can look at what their use is or special needs. Are we building out a new section of our community, maybe need a new fire station? So, that can be adjusted each year as a part of the budget process. But that's how we went about kind of taking the lead in this and recognizing that we needed to bring a community together. The greatest part of this is how we were able to mobilize so many different groups together on this. We brought together our Realtor Association, road builders. We brought together all of our of course, we've got our public and private on both sides of that, but the business community really came together for this, and we raised over $250,000 to help run commercials and take kind of a new digital turn on that. But we also had some of these organizations going ahead and sending email blasts or doing social media campaigns. We even went to the unions for the school board and also to our first responders, and they shared out this information because it helps them. They're getting new equipment. They're getting well taken care of. It doesn't come out of general funds, so they still get to, maintain the salaries, and they still get to have improvements there. Because the worst thing a community can do, it would be to go ahead and train people and then not be able to pay those first responders and have them go to someone else's community. So we put all of these pieces together. We were so excited that the community really came together behind this. It really was one of those things where, you get that broad collaboration as a part of what we're doing. And with that, we're actually ending up building 2 elementary schools, adding a new wing to a middle school, and building a new high school. All in those projects are already in process for the next 5 years. And so there are some other improvements that'll happen out of that for the schools, but it really is a big piece of how do we make sure that local governments have the flexibility that they need, that they can stay sustainable, and that they have long-term funding sources for the growing needs of our community, where they don't have to put that tax burden just on the property tax own, for those who would pay property tax for owners. So that was a really big piece for us, really exciting. It was the first time we'd ever done true digital media, basically being on, Amazon Prime, being on Hulu. It was a whole new venture for us to take that large of a piece. But we also did a lot of conversations to business groups. Anyone that wanted us to talk about it, we'd come see them. We went out to several communities. We've got larger housing communities in our metro, and went out, talked to them, gave them the whole, here's what it is. We're just laid out the facts. And it was really incredible to see how they all really supported that and came behind it. We passed it in every single district, every voting district, which I think is, the bigger piece of this, that kind of, a lot of people told us it's going to be close. You might get one passed. You probably won't get both. And it'll probably be a pretty close vote. Well, I'll take 63% of the vote for the sales tax renewal and 59% for the schools tax. So when I look at those numbers, I think that that's a pretty good thing saying our community agreed that we need to take care of our schools and that we need to have our students in safe classrooms and having all the technology that they need for the future. And also that we're taking care of our first responders and that we have great roads to travel on in the Ocala Metro. So, we're pretty excited about how that all came together this last year.
Yeah, I think that's a huge help with for example, the transportation and first responders sales tax. When
Absolutely.
every penny's being accounted for, and you can go back and
Yes,
say, look, this is where it's all being spent. That makes it a whole lot easier to pass the next time.
it
Uh,
absolutely does.
my question when it comes to the schools, is there certain things that money is allowed to be allocated to, or is there, like, for example, sometimes when a bond is passed, maybe it can't pay teacher salaries, but it can build
Mhm.
new infrastructure, new schools, campuses, and stuff like that. What
Yes.
kind of
So yes.
parameters? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So the parameters for this, actually, it is all about capital outlay. So this was very specifically for new construction, for facility updates. So there is none of this being spent on salaries, but again, it helps to keep
Yeah.
that out of the general fund. And because of the term, they were able to put bonds out so they could build the schools now and pay those off as they collect that sales tax over the next, few years. So yeah, it is very specifically because they had funding and we've helped them find it for other programming. We actually passed a $1 million renewal 2 years ago that helps them with our technical training skills and being able to have more in the arts sector of their schools. So we've been helping out in that lane and bringing people together for that this is more than this one election cycle. But
Yeah.
yes, this particular sales tax is dedicated very specifically to the capital investments within the schools.
So my other question with this program is
Mm-hmm.
with the capital that was raised to promote and do the digital marketing and everything that you guys did you have somebody in-house that could kind of leverage that, or did you contract and go with an agency that could help put you in contact with Prime and Hulu and those examples
Yes.
you mentioned?
Yeah, this was the first time. So in the first couple of campaigns, we did a lot in-house, social media driven in those, but this was well outside of our wheelhouse. So we absolutely did hire an agency, and I will tell you, it was an agency that was referred to us by a partner in the community. And again, we had so much of our business community that said, we're absolutely behind you on this, and helped fund that investment. So yeah, we did a little bit we supplied some B-roll and some other video because we do have our own video studio in-house. So we were able to work with them on that and help put together the scripting. And so that was kind of the fun part, that we were able to use some of what we've done in the community in our own video studio and supply that information to them. But yeah, we definitely hired this out just to make sure. You want to put the experts
Sounds
in
like a
it.
smart move. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think every year we all realize as chamber organizations, it gets harder and harder when you're doing political things on social media and those types of channels. There's so many restrictions that are put in place that it's always best to let the experts do that if you're in a position to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's shift gears and
Sure.
change our focus onto the other program that you guys submitted on your application. If you'd like to introduce that program and tell us what it was all about.
Absolutely. So our other program is what we call the Ocala Metro Catalyst Fund. This is a community development finance institution, which is regulated through the U.S. Treasury Department. This was a new thing for us. I guess I should step back and say, we started an incubator program with the help of the county and city on the campus that we have here, because we are right across from City Hall. And within our campus area here, they had a building that used to be the original power plant for the city of Ocala. Okay. And so both of those entities helped us open up in that building. So it's the Power Plant Business Incubator. So we started there with a real focus on entrepreneurship and how do we help people to grow their own business, right? It's the greatest way that you can have control of your own career and your life is to be able to start your own business. And so we have been running that incubator since 2012. It has been incredibly successful. And this last year, we were able to open a second incubator location. But in the process of running these incubators, the biggest challenge I think we continue to recognize is that there's an access to capital issue. issue for entrepreneurs. And it can be even worse in some of our underserved communities. And we have three that we've really keep an eye on within our community, that those zip codes kind of tend to be the ones that really have struggled the most in our community and have kind of been overlooked over the years. And so we have put programming from our incubators specifically into those communities. And what we recognized is traditional lenders don't often help those in the underserved community, and they don't have that way to do that. So what CDFIs do in a community is they help close that financial gap. They can spur economic growth and promote mobility where, traditional lending falls short in that lane. So for us, we did a lot of surveying, a lot of talking to people in the community. And, part of what happened is it actually started in a post-COVID environment, right? When we were looking at businesses that were receiving assistance through the CARES Act. And then we realized there continued to be this gap in critical funding. And the state of Florida has made great inroads over the past couple of years. But we had already started into this process and recognized that for lower income zip codes, this is going to be an ongoing challenge with traditional lenders. So we started out a new 501c3. And as you can imagine, in this being a federal program, there are a lot of regulations, a lot of processes to go through. So we did hire a consultant to help us start this process that got us on the road to this. And so, we've now been able to offer some nano loans to businesses as a part of the process. And we're already in the repayment process on that. And what we're really looking forward to over the next few years is that we're hoping to get our final certification in January. We're fully on track with that. We've received a large grant from the Treasury to make the next steps in this and working towards that certification. The other piece of it is our county government has also given us a grant that we're using as a matching grant in the community. They gave us $75,000 to go out to the business community. And so we are currently raising matching grant funds through that so that we'll be able to offer larger loans. Our next step is microloans, and those would be anywhere from $2,000 to $15,000. And then once we're fully certified and we can engage banks then at that point as a part of the process, then we're hoping to be able to go to those more traditional business loan sizes of somewhere between, or usually around $50,000 would be kind of the top end of those types of loans. But that gives businesses who are in their first 5 years of startup that working capital that they need. And again, we're really targeting communities that would traditionally not be served by a traditional bank because of where those communities are and because of their economic situation that they're already in. So our goal is to try to make equity where we can in the community and to try to balance that for everyone so that there's an equal opportunity, because we do feel that entrepreneurship is the fastest way to really create personal wealth and personal opportunity for you and your family.
Yeah, I love this idea. I'd love to see more chambers embrace this and be able to provide access to capital funding to these businesses, coming out of an incubator, these new businesses that are trying to get going. The biggest question that I have, so you addressed it, how the funding, how this, and I think in the introduction you had talked about your foundation. So this is housed within the foundation. But
this actually does run separately of our foundation.
Oh, it does.
So
okay.
just to clarify, our foundation did help with initial startup funds. So when we were trying to get those nano loans started, but we have this is its own separate 501c3 organization now. Gotcha. So when we first started talking about it and how do we fund some of the initial pieces we were working on, we did use our foundation to help us with that. But at this point, it is a standalone organization. And so I think that's what makes it a little more special as we've been able to move it forward. And I think that's what makes it such an important program, is that it doesn't rely on our foundation. Our foundation can still be dedicated to serving the mission of our overall organization, right? Where we talk about, that the foundation can magnify mission. And so that's what we continue to work on. So this one is its own entity at this point.
Awesome. Thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
When it comes to the nano loans, the soon to be micro loans that you give out, how do you secure that? Like, what kind of, is there collateral? How do you ensure that you get repayment and that it's not just a gift to
Yes,
businesses.
no, yep. So we, there is a whole comprehensive process, much like banks go through, right? Looking at their financial situation, looking at the viability of that business, right? Because it's partly the same process we use in an incubator. Is that business scalable? What are the opportunities? And part of what the great part in doing this process is there's a requirement for them to get this funding that they have to go through the technical training. So they get the technical assistance that goes with it. So we're working with these businesses. Our team over at our incubator is working with them every day to check in and make sure that they've got all of the pieces of that ready. We actually, because we've had a great partnership with the Kauffman Foundation through the incubator for several years, we have some of their programs like the Fast Track program, which is a great program that gets a business started on how do you even write a marketing plan? How do you write your business plan? And over the course of that, they're writing all of those documents and really getting themselves on stable footing, because the key to an incubator in any community is essentially we say we help a business fail fast, right? If you're going to make mistakes, do it in a safety net where you've got people around you that can help catch you and help get you back on track, because that's the piece, right? Businesses that are incubated, I'm probably going to get the stats wrong, and those of your listeners will be like, that's not the right stat, but I'm going to estimate that it's about they're 80% more successful in the first 5 years. Whereas, an average business without that kind of support network, you probably have about a 12% survival rate. And so we know that that's already, the piece to having a community that supports our entrepreneurs. And that's a key piece. But having that opportunity for them to get that continued coaching, that becomes a part of the process as well, because they don't get their loan payments if they don't, have that technical assistance going on. And I think that's the piece that makes this so special. And that's a continuing piece, but that links it back into our incubator as we're going forward. Now, the other thing that we did is we had an amazing event just recently, which was a matchmaker event. And this is where we bring in local banks. We had about 25 local banks, about 120 participants, and all of them come in and they sit down with those documents that they have, their business plans and their financial documents, and they talk to the banks about getting loans. And so the other piece is we're teaching these businesses how to build up what they need within their business that will help them in the future with regular traditional loan programs. And that's really the goal behind this, is to get them established, give them a credit history, because more than anything, that's what they're missing. They don't have a credit history, even if they had collateral.
Yeah, they're a new business, right?
Right. It makes them risky. And so that's our goal with all of this, is really opening the door for them for the future, for larger and other, loan opportunities.
Yeah, no, that is fantastic. The whole point about helping these businesses fail fast reminds me of Thomas Edison, when a reporter asked him, what do you think about all your failures? He's like, I didn't fail. I figured out thousands of ways that the light bulb would not work, right? And that's the whole
exactly
idea.
it.
You fail fast so you can get to that solution.
Yeah, we actually have that quote on the wall in our incubator. We went with a lot of those types of quotes as inspiration, because that's it, right? And when you know so many people that, sometimes we talk about, we have some serial entrepreneurs in our community too, and some of them are on their third or fourth company because they just love that drive. Now that they've been so successful in their first business, they keep going on to the next. And I love seeing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Tamara, as we begin to wrap things up, I wanted to ask for the listeners who are interested in taking their organization up to the next level, what kind of tip or action item would you suggest for them in trying to accomplish that goal?
So I think the first thing I would say is never think that you're too small to try starting some of these programs. I think that's the biggest part, is we say, well, we could never do what the Ocala CEP does because we don't have that kind of budget or that kind of staff. 13 years ago, there were 5 staff, and I can guarantee you we had a small budget at the time. So I think the key to any of this is, what can you take away? What part of what we're doing can you use? If it's, from a sales tax standpoint, okay, take a look at your community. And is this something that you think, with transparency and other things? Because I'll share how we did it. I share it all the time. And I think that's the great news about chambers, right? We talk about R&D all the time. I'm going to rip off and duplicate what somebody else is doing. And most of the things that we do truly are scalable. So even if there's just a few of you, get a committee together, get your board behind what you're doing, and let them help lead the brigade for you. And what we're doing with an incubator, you do not have to be in the situation we're in. Get your community partners together. That's what we do as chamber organizations, right? We're the catalysts. We're the conveners. We bring people together. So get people behind you on this, whether that issue is housing, whether that is, improvements in your communities, whether it's entrepreneurship. There are so many lanes that you can bring people together. And that's really what we do best. So I would say, don't be afraid to try it. Just go for it.
Yeah, I love that response. I like asking everyone I have on the show, as we look to the future of chambers of commerce, how do you see the future of chambers and their purpose going forward?
So I think, we talk about this all the time. We hear the news stories and we see this kind of greater political divide, or so it seems. But I think what we're finding more and more is, as things seem a little more crazy in the environment around us, people look to their chamber. Businesses definitely look to us and they say, okay, we're asking you to lead. And I think we're going to be called upon. We're already seeing it happening, and I'm sure chambers across the country are as well, that we're being called upon to voice an opinion or be a part of more issues that are happening in our community. And of course, my only caution would be, make sure that whatever you're engaging in meets your mission, right? Because it's so easy for us to have mission drift and stray away from that. But our voices matter so much in the community, and we're going to continue to be called on. So we all need to be thinking about that. What are we prepared to? What is our process for engaging on issues? And what's the right thing for our community? And how do we want to address that as chambers?
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, Tamara, I wanted to give you an opportunity to share any contact information for listeners who may want to reach out and connect or learn more about your approaches there in Ocala. Where would you point them? What would be the best way for them to connect with you?
Well, the place that I will start them is our website. It is the OcalaCEP.com. So Ocala is spelled OCALA, CEP.com. And you can see we've got a team page there. You can find any one of us on that and make an outreach, and you'll easily find me there. And the great news is most of us are first name at OcalaCEP.com if you want to send an email. So again, I'm Tamara. It's Tamara. And so you can feel free to give me a call, off of the website there, or you can give me an email, and I'm happy to connect with you or connect you with a member of my team who might be a better resource for you.
That's very good. And we'll make sure to have the website in our show notes to make it easy for people to find you guys and reach out and connect. But Tamara, this has been great having you on the show. Thank you for diving into these programs and telling us how you guys are, making that secret sauce there in Ocala. But I wish you and your team best of luck as Chamber of the Year.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to your listeners.
If you are a chamber professional, please subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. When you subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast, new episodes will show up in your podcast app each week as they are released. If you're finding value in this podcast, please leave us a rating and a review in iTunes. But most importantly, please share Chamber Chat Podcast with your colleagues that are in the industry.